Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Again, good morning. My name is Kent Bishop, and I am with Diem Technologies here in the Dallas area. We are a RightFax Platinum reseller. Today I'm really excited to talk about our topic, taking fax to the cloud. This is a topic that we get a lot of questions on from our customers. We're looking to take our IT to the cloud, and what are some options for RightFax? And if we're on another fax service. So I think you'll really enjoy this presentation today. And presenting for us today is Ken Romo with OpenText, who has experience in this area. So we'll get rolling here and get right into it. So at the end of the presentation, we're going to take questions and have a little Q&A session. So during the presentation, if you do have a question, off to the side on your GoToWebinar bar, you'll notice a section entitled Questions. And in that section, you can type a question that you have for us, and then at the very end, I'll go through and read them off, and Ken will hopefully answer those for us. And if for some reason we can't answer it today, we can definitely follow up. So just a little housekeeping to get us going. And for those of you who maybe are Diem customers, maybe new customers, or maybe you haven't worked with Diem yet, you're not familiar with us, I wanted to go over a little bit of background. We were founded in 1990 in Richardson, Texas, which is in the Dallas area. And we were one of the very first RightFax partners back in '93. So we've been doing this over 20 years. We have a lot of experience in the RightFax world and enterprise fax in general. As I mentioned earlier, we're an OpenText Platinum partner and support provider. So we take first-line support. Our support techs have years and years and years of combined experience. So on top of everything we do with RightFax, we also play in a couple of other areas. Pretty much anything that touches fax or relates to fax, things like document capture, secure information exchange, which includes secure mail offerings and secure managed file transfer, as well as document management. We handle all those areas. So a lot of people know us as, hey, you guys work with RightFax, but we touch a lot of other areas as well. So again, I'm really excited to introduce to you Ken Romo, who's going to be taking us through this presentation today, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So, Ken.
I appreciate it, and thanks to Diem for letting me present today. So here's the quick agenda. As Kent mentioned, we're going to be covering faxing in the cloud. So a little bit about OpenText and the division fax is under is called Information Exchange. We will then cover all the OpenText fax options, which are RightFax, RightFax Connect, and Fax2Mail. And then as Kent mentioned, some Q&A at the end. So I'm going to briefly just cover OpenText. I work for the division in OpenText called the Information Exchange, which is where our cloud products reside. We do $6.5 trillion in commerce, and that's through our GXS acquisition. We have world-class supply chains. We have more than 500,000 businesses connected to it. And then right there towards the end, just on the cloud alone, we do over 2 billion faxes a year. Now, just so you know, that statistic seems quite staggering. Our on-premise fax service with RightFax, we actually do more than that. So we do in excess of 4 billion faxes a year throughout all OpenText infrastructures. And then lastly, there is the commerce transactions through a lot of that is EDI fax. Point being is that OpenText is in the information exchange business, and faxing is a huge part of that. So as far as OpenText and the types of products we offer for faxing, the on-premise product is called RightFax. It is the market-leading product out there, along with RightFax Connect. That is our hybrid version. Now, RightFax Connect is the combination of the on-premise fax server with hosted telephony. And again, we're going to go into the Fax2Mail product is the 100% cloud-based offering. So no telephony, no on-premise software. it is the total cloud functionality. So to begin with, RightFax. So RightFax is 100% on-premise. It runs on a Windows server. It's a true client server, and everything is maintained in-house. More importantly, all the telephony associated with the fax server is also on-premise. We support just about every type of telephony out there: SIP trunking, T1s, digital, analog. And again, what we're seeing out in the market is that, especially for our larger customers, a couple of things are happening. They're either going to voice over IP infrastructures, and they're having a difficult time either with fax boards or getting their gateways to talk to RightFax, or they're going to a SIP trunk provider and they don't have the infrastructure, or they are just so large and have so many telephony connections that it's becoming a burden on them to manage it both technically and financially. So again, RightFax, the 100% on-premise. So that leads us to our first cloud-based solution, which we call RightFax Connect. So what is RightFax Connect? It still is that application layer, so the RightFax server on-premise. However, all the telephony is cloud-based. And the reason we call it a hybrid is because it is the combination of on-premise and cloud-based fax delivery. However, we're not saying to you, you have to absolutely pull out all your telephony. It truly can be a hybrid, a combination of on-premise and cloud technology. I always like throwing this slide in here just to get people thinking about, what is the cloud? And again, out in the market, what we see is I see three major buckets out there. I see companies that have gone all out. They have cloud initiatives. They've talked to the security people within their IT organizations and know how to handle this going forward. But the majority, I would say, of our customers are just now starting to look at cloud. They may have some outsourced email, Google, Office 365 or something to that effect, but really they haven't made that fundamental change over to the cloud. And then lastly, there is that group that will never go to the cloud. However, I like putting this up because I want people to start thinking, well, who do I need to talk to if I want to go to a cloud solution? Because now it's not only IT, it's the security people, it's, the CIO, who's mandating these types of technologies within your environment. So again, on to RightFax Connect. It's the only cloud-based fax service that connects to RightFax server. More importantly, it's the only supported cloud service. There are others out there. And so RightFax Connect is the only service, true cloud telephony service, that's supported with the RightFax server. It's secure. I always like to say that, we have major healthcare, government, financial organizations using that. We have an entire security team on both the RightFax Connect and the pure cloud solution. And just so you know, both the infrastructures are the same. So the pure cloud infrastructure and RightFax Connect use the same data centers worldwide for their telephony communication. It's fast and easy. There's no physical connections. It's just a connection to the internet, and I have a slide to go into more detail on that. Again, what are some of the benefits? There's speed, flexibility, security, cost savings, the fact that there's no telephony. It's easy to deploy. It's easy to add new fax numbers. There's actually a portal available. The other thing about fax numbers that's important to note is that if you are going to port numbers to OpenText, they absolutely still belong to you. Clearly written in the contract. If for some reason you leave the service, they are your numbers. And if you want to get toll or toll-free numbers for us, there's a portal, and you can fire up those numbers in 30 minutes. Now, if you're going to add, hundreds of numbers, then we suggest going through our support team to get that done. It's a fast implementation, internet connection, HTTPS SSL connection, and it's very flexible. And flexibility, the scalability on it, with an on-premise fax server, you're limited to the number of channels on that server on how many simultaneous faxes you can use. And same on the inbound side. If all those channels are being used, you're going to get busy signals. So that all goes away with RightFax Connect because of our worldwide infrastructure. Cost savings, you no longer have phone lines, fax machines, or maintenance that went along with the software to support that, all the channels on a RightFax server, that all goes away. Again, security, we have case studies and an entire security team that's available to talk to any of your security people to make sure that we're going to meet all the requirements for compliancy, any type of reporting that needs to be done, HIPAA, Sarbanes-Oxley, it's all supported under the infrastructure. Again, we've had customers, new customers who've installed the software once they have their account credentials, get up and running, sending and receiving faxes literally within half a day. They're bringing up an entire RightFax infrastructure. The speed, because we literally have thousands of ports of fax worldwide, now you're not waiting for an available channel to send out a fax because it is a dynamic solution. Flexibility, all large volumes of faxes, there's no constraints, there's no delays, no busy signals. So again, very, very flexible. I talked about cost savings, pulling out the fax lines, gateways, session border controllers, whatever's associated with your telephony, literally you can pull all that out with the RightFax Connect. I mentioned to you that it is an internet connection, TLS, SSL. However, if you do have a requirement for a VPN, and we do have a few customers that do, we support that as well. So again, back to flexibility, however you want to connect to the service will allow you to do it. This is a diagram of what RightFax Connect looks like. The little flaming wall there is the firewall. So you have your on-premise fax server behind the firewall, and then through the gateway, the only port you need to open is port 433, and it is a web services communication, and RightFax initiates all the conversation. So we're not coming back into your environment and initiating any conversation. It's all outbound from the RightFax from your on-premise. And we know from a security standpoint that that was important for a lot of people. I mentioned because of our worldwide infrastructure and the number of devices we have, never busy. So traffic will queue when necessary, so we can easily handle seasonal high volumes. And the way we do this, just so you know, is that every time we bring in a new account, we have a capacity team that's responsible for making sure that we have capacity. And if you sign an NDA, just so you know, we'll deliver these statistics. We are SOC 2 certified cloud infrastructure. We're one of the 10 largest fax providers in the world. And so they'll give you the statistics over time. And I've been told that we've never hit 70% of our capacity during any, high volume burst or season. So what is the power behind a fax server deployment like this? We've always, and when I say we, I'm talking about the RightFax software on-premise. We've always had trouble with the bank branch type of operation because, say the headquarters is in Houston and you're truly a national organization. You have sites around the country. In the past, we either had to put a piece of hardware or software out there called a remote dock transport out there. But now with RightFax Connect, because it's a service supporting your telephony that's redundant and highly available, now we can go into a organization like that, centralize all the RightFax application side of the platform, and host all these branches at a single site, as well as if there are any of these MP devices out at these sites, we can truly build a centralized server. So it looks something like this. If you're looking at this slide here again, the headquarters is in Houston, but you have branches throughout the country. All your numbers are going to be terminated at your Houston office. And then over your WAN, you can connect the MFPs as well as any client that's available. Most of our clients use our email client. So again, you don't have to have a fax board out there or remote dock transport server. Truly a centralized solution, all possible. The market-leading enterprise fax cloud service that's highly available and redundant in nature. Our data centers are in the U.S. and European Union, and the reason I mention this is because we do have customers where data sovereignty is an issue. So if you do have that requirement, we do have the infrastructure to keep all your faxes either in the U.S. or in the European nation. Business continuity, as I mentioned to you, because it's only a single connection, in the past with on-premise RightFax software, it's easy to build in business continuity with the server with either virtual software or what we call shared services. But with RightFax Connect, because there's no telephony portion, now you don't have to have two fax boards or two gateways, just a single connection to the internet to provide that business continuity. And then you can use whatever policies you have in place for your applications that you're using in your data centers. I talked about the fax numbers already. You don't have to change your numbers. You port them to us, and they are absolutely your fax numbers throughout the contract and even after. We're in all the major markets, highlighted by green there. So if you do have an international footprint, we can port numbers throughout the world. So again, not only can you bring that centralized solution in North America, but you can do this worldwide as well. So that takes us on to our third and final cloud solution that we call Fax2Mail. It is a truly cloud-only, no software on-premise solution. And below that, just so you know, on this same infrastructure, we do have what we call production messaging. I'm not going to go over that today, but I wanted this audience to know that we do automated high-volume application-based messaging, voice, email, and SMS production messaging is available through this same infrastructure, if you will. So Fax2Mail, I'm going to give you a brief overview, talk about the outbound, the inbound features, some of the key benefits, and the characteristics of it. So Fax2Mail, just like the name states, is desktop faxing through your email client. It leverages your existing email systems. We're compatible with just about every email system out there, Google, Exchange, Office 365. There's very, very few that we're not. So that's usually not the issue. Again, because it is cloud-based, it's going to have a lot of the same, cost eliminating points as well as the redundancy and high availability because they are the same infrastructure. It provides one centralized administration and reporting for all faxes. We have the local and toll-free numbers that I told you about that you can either through a self portal or use our support team to do that. And then again, redundancy and diverse U.S. data centers throughout the country. So how does the Fax2Mail deliver a fax? The other thing about the fact that you're using your email client, it cuts down on training, so your users are using their email client they use in day-to-day, and it's just like sending an email message. It's the fax number at fax2mail.com. Once it's configured on that email account, it goes out to the cloud, and that fax is transmitted. You do have the option to get notifications back, on the status back to that email account, as well as there's a portal available for that functionality. On the inbound side, it's the inverse. Think about our cloud as the infrastructure that has all the fax modems throughout the world. A fax is dialed into it, and then we deliver it to that email account either as a TIFF file or a PDF. You get to choose which you want. And again, because customers are working, our clients are working their email client every day, it's a very familiar interface. They open up their email and the fax is there. Again, some of the benefits, cost-effective, increased productivity, a global footprint, configurable, and email-based. Again, I went into some details, and I actually have some screenshots. We have an Outlook toolbar. Again, right from your email client, the ability to send and receive faxes. Productivity, I do want to talk about this a little bit because the name does imply Fax2Mail that allows users to send and receive faxes from their desktop. And also notice in here that it says applications. The the service has very, very, very powerful APIs available. And what I mean by that is if you have back-end applications, ERPs, Oracle, SAP, for instance, the Epic Health Systems, EHRs, you do have the ability to use these APIs with the truly cloud-only service and connect those back-end functionalities. So, the name insinuates that it's only a desktop solution, but it truly can be, and we do have many, many customers using this service with our APIs to integrate into back-end data systems. So that's available as well. Redundancy, I talked about the redundancy, multiple data centers. Again, most people assume that if it is a cloud solution, it is going to be redundant. We have a great story on Hurricane Sandy where one of our data centers we were, up 100% of the time where our competitors weren't. Very flexible. It's configurable with a variety of user interfaces. I'll show you some of those from the desktop standpoint. And again, cost effective, because in this case, not only is there no telephony to manage, but there's no software, absolutely no software or hardware on premise, a complete cloud solution. So what are some of the key features of Fax2Mail? Sending a fax via Outlook, the inbox, I'll talk about some of the reports, the outbox, identifying and blocking for those spam faxers, cover pages, and the retry algorithm. So sending a fax, again, you're leveraging your own email account, and the service does the conversion because a fax, all faxes are TIFF files, which means you can send PowerPoints, Word, and it's the actual service when that file is delivered that converts that file, so your desktop isn't doing all that work. And then lastly, text and notes on your cover, or the text are the notes on your cover page, the email text. And it is multilingual. We support most major languages out there. So what does it look like when you send a fax? Kind of blurry up there, but on the 2, it's the fax number at fax2mail.com. The body of it becomes the notes and then on the inbound side, as mentioned, this one here, most customers do prefer PDF. A fax comes in as an attachment as a PDF. The other thing is, again, most of our clients do just work in their email client. There is a portal for every Fax2Mail account, so you can look at your faxes that have been sent and received, and they will, and by the way, this is configurable. If you want them, those faxes will be saved up in the portal for up to 30 days. So it's kind of a safe net, if you will. If you don't have access to your email, but you're at a kiosk and get on the internet, you can, look at your faxes, print them, etc., resend them. So there is a portal available for the service as well. We have reports that are available, and what we've done is because we have been doing customizable reports for a lot of customers, and so now what we do is if you would like on a nightly basis, we'll give you all the information on all your faxes, and what we found is that customers would rather extract that information, get the information they want. And so there's summary reports, there's detailed reports, exception and conditional reports. And you can decide when you want those and what information you want on those. I talked to you about the outbox. Even though you can get a verification back to your email, if you really want to know what's happening in real time, you can go to that portal and you can either schedule for future deliveries, cancel that fax job if it has not been sent, resend it, or again, view the real-time status on that fax through the portal. Receiving a fax, I showed you the picture. It comes into your email client. You can choose a TIFF or PDF, and just one mouse click to view that fax. Caller ID, we do show in the subject line the caller ID instead of just a random number. And then lastly, we do have the ability to prevent deliveries from a particular sender for blocking spam faxes. However, I will tell you, being in this business a long time, these spam faxes are pretty smart. So one day they might be sending from one number and they can spoof numbers, and so they'll send as a different number the next day. But we do attempt to provide some technology here to help you with that spam faxing. Cover pages, again, you can use graphical logos. They're configurable. You can select a variety, and they can be applied either at the user, group, or account level. And I'll talk a little bit more about when we get into the management how that looks at those different levels. But again, it's pretty customizable, and what we've seen is that most companies use a cover sheet and push it out that way. The number of retries, this is the algorithm that the service uses for the retries. And the way Fax2Mail works is every user has a separate account on Fax2Mail. So for this algorithm, it could be different for every user in your organization. So maybe the executives, want to have 10 retries as opposed to 3. We do have a short method, standard method, but this is also configurable to meet, the requirements of what your retries are. I told you I'd talk a little bit more about the administrative features. It is a web-based administrative interface, and then it has that users and groups functionality, and you can even do subgroups within the groups, grant rights to people who can run reports, can see different faxes. So we do have different granular levels of administration, and then we also support bill back codes if you're going to bill back to any department, so you can manage those users by department, and then of course add, modify, or delete any of those users from the administrative perspective. Again, there's journals and billing reports available for all levels of it, and these reports can be sent out. You can schedule them to be sent out in a CSV format, and usually most customers have those sent out on a nightly basis. As far as managing numbers, you can port the numbers to us. We have a portal that you can do self-service. And then the thing about international porting is you do have to have a physical address in order to provision an international number to our service. I talked about fax cover sheets. Users have the option of storing custom cover sheets, or again, as an administrator, you can mandate that a certain user within a certain department has to use a certain cover sheet. And again, the email body text appears in the notes section. Activity reports are a little different from the other reports. These can be done by the subgroups, department and user level. The outbound features, we do have an Outlook plugin, so you hit the button up there and it has some functionality on what type of resolution, if you want to do a delay send. So it adds functionality to your Outlook toolbar. However, again, I'll tell you, because it's so easy to use, I see this used about half the time. Only, I would say, the super fax users need this level of integration because it's so easy to send a fax that often the plugin's not even used or necessary. I do see the print driver used a little bit more than the Outlook plugin, and so if you're in any application that you can print to, this is an installable feature, and it'll look like a printer on your network, and when you hit the print to fax feature, it pulls up this virtual fax machine. You type in the fax number, hit send, and that fax will send, and it'll give you a status right here on this little virtual fax machine. So that is a pretty popular feature that's used. It also can be used as a standalone application right on your desktop. A lot of people who do a lot of faxing just leave it up on their desktop, and literally all you have to do is drag whatever document you have onto this virtual fax machine, punch in the fax number, and send it away. It does also have the capabilities of having an address book in it, and we can access, your MAPI phone book or whatever phone book you have available as well. So this feature is the same print to fax feature as it is a standalone virtual fax machine. So that was our cloud. Again, to summarize, it was, we do and always have had the on-premise RightFax server, but now we have the hybrid where you outsource just telephony, and then lastly, our truly cloud-only based Fax2Mail product. And now I will turn it back over to Ken.
Thanks, Ken. That was really informative. So yeah, as Ken covered, for those with RightFax or even other solutions that are looking to go fully to the cloud or maybe looking for a hybrid option, hopefully this was a good set of benefits of going in that direction and maybe some things to consider as well. So if you have any additional questions, you can use the GoToWebinar pane off to the right and type in a question, and I can ask those to Ken. If something comes up after this webinar session and you want to talk to someone here at Diem, get in contact with your account manager. That might be Barry, Mike, Michelle, and reach out to them. They can definitely answer those questions or get the question answered for you. Or maybe if you're new to Diem and you just want to find out more, drop us an email, info@diem.com, or call the number at 877-669-3700, and we'll be happy to talk more and learn more about your environment and find out what options might be best for taking your solution either fully to the cloud or partially. I don't see any questions here, Ken, currently, so I'll wait just a few more seconds in case someone wanted to ask something. But again, you can follow up with us after the webinar. I'm going to post this webinar video to YouTube, so we'll share that link after the webinar as well, so you can go and maybe there's certain sections you want to review about one of the options. So I'm not seeing anything else here. So Ken, thank you very much again. It was a great webinar, very informative. And watch for a follow-up email with the link to watch the video. Thank you very much for your time today. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thanks so much.